What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Now, look, I try to be fair on this channel, right? And when Joel Embiid was playing like crap last year in the playoffs, right? I made videos talking about that. You know I made videos talking about James Harden when he was playing like crap in all but one playoff game last year. Now, I've given both of them guys credit because this year they've been balling. On most power rankings, Embiid is like in the top 2 or 3 in MVP voting, Harden in the top 5. They've been balling. That's why I ain't been saying much about them. Now, we got to see if they continue to do this in the playoffs. Now, you guys saw me get on Giannis when he committed one of the cheapest maneuvers in modern NBA history, trying to get that cheap ass triple double. You better than that, man. That was garbage. That was a garbage move you did, bro. You better than that. I called it out. I didn't act like I didn't see it. Right? You guys know I've been on Jokic. But Jokic is a good player. But I'm just thinking sometimes the mainstream media moves the goalpost too much with him. But don't think I haven't been seeing Jayson Tatum. Now, last year in the playoffs, Jayson Tatum played like a superstar with the exception of in the finals. Right? This year, on a statistical basis, on a per-game basis, Tatum is having the best season of his career, scoring-wise, right? Not the most efficient, and that's to be expected because he's taking more shots, but he's having a great scoring year, averaging over 30 points a game. In fact, I think he's on pace. If my memory serves me correctly, I'm trying to think. I believe he'll be the first Celtic ever to average over 30 points a game. Gotta think about this. I think Havlicek's highest scoring average was like just under 29. Bird's was just under 30, 87, 88. Isaiah Thomas, I think, averaged like a little bit under 29. Yeah, I think Tatum will be the first Celtic to average over 30 in their franchise's history. But I have to say this, man. Look, some of the problems is probably the coaching change. Joe Mazzulla is not Ime Udoka. Ime Udoka had these guys playing from the All-Star break into the finals defensively like an all-time great team, like an all-time great defense. You could kind of compare it to the '96 Bulls. Not saying they was great, but I'm saying you could compare it to the Bad Boys, the '96 Bulls, the Spurs in the 2000s. I mean, their defense was remarkable. This year, it's not not quite the same monster. You know what I'm saying? They're still a great team. For much of the year, they had the best record, but lately they've been slipping. They had an earlier 3-game losing streak last month, and they just lost to the fucking Rockets. Now I gotta say something, man. And this is my opinion. A lot of the losses that they take, you could primarily point the finger at Tatum. Not all of them, but some of them, a lot of them, are from Jayson Tatum shooting his team out of games. It's the truth. I'm sorry. His shot selection sometimes is atrocious. Okay? Now, I looked at the last 10 losses that they had. And in those 10 losses, Tatum averaged 26.6 points per game, which is less than about 3.5 points under what he averages for the season. So he's still getting his points in the losses. But the shot selection is atrocious. In the last 10 losses, he's 85 of 204 from the field. 41.7% from the floor. So the accuracy is way down in those games. And in those games, 42% of his shot attempts have been three-pointers. Now that's when Tatum lets the defense off easy. Tatum is a 35% three-point shooter. That's okay, but it's below the league average of 36.2%. And he's streaky. There are games when he can hit 8-9 threes, but then there are games where he can go 0 for 7, 0 for 8 from downtown. I mean, terrible misses. Tatum, to me, is better when he limits his three-point attempts to maybe 5 or 6. Preferably 4. Maybe 5 or 6 if he's hot. And if he's making them, okay, that's a different thing. But limiting them to maybe 5 or 6 and mixing it up a little bit. The pull-up game, the mid-range game, going into the post, you know what I'm saying, driving to the basket. I'm not saying he's LeBron James in his prime, but just mixing up a little bit and giving the defenses different looks would greatly elevate him offensively, in my opinion, right? But his shot selection, I've had so many Celtics fans message me and tell me, man, Jayson Tatum gets on my fucking nerves. His shot selection, he takes dumb shots sometimes. He gets three-point happy. Last 10 games, he's 22 of 86 from beyond the arc. 25.6%. That's not going to get it done. Especially as the team's primary offensive player. Last game, just to have the game close against the Rockets, Jaylen Brown had to score 43 points. Just to have the game close. And it doesn't help that in these 10 games he's committing nearly 4 turnovers a game. Nearly 4 turnovers. But, people aren't going to mention that because they only look for turnovers for one particular player in the NBA. So, they lost to the Rockets. And let's look at their upcoming schedule. Because last I checked, the Sixers are breathing down their motherfucking throats. So they play the Timberwolves tomorrow. They'll be at Minnesota. They're at Portland. They're at Utah. Oh my goodness, they're on a road trip. They're at Sacramento. Lordy. And then they play the Pacers at home, and then the Spurs at home. They should beat the Spurs. I mean, the Spurs are 17-50. They should beat the Spurs. But, you just never know in the NBA sometimes. You really don't. You never know. Then after that, they play the Wizards. They're at the Wizards. Then they play Milwaukee. Then Utah again. Then Philly. Then the Raptors 2 times in a row. Then they finish off the season against the Hawks. So, I mean, if things go perfectly, they'll maybe they can secure staying in the second spot. But they could easily fall to the 3rd spot in the East. And if that occurred, let's see. Eastern Conference standings, that would, if they're to fall to 3rd and things stay the same, that would pit them against the New York Knicks. And oh boy, that's not a matchup you want to be up against if you're Boston. Not an easy out. I mean, you much rather, to me at least, go up against the offensively challenged Miami Heat. But anyway, just wanted to say that, look, the media's not going to talk about it. I'm telling you. They don't talk about any one of these guys losing unless it's Giannis. right? Unless it's Giannis. That's the only time they talk about it, man. Oh, the Bucks have lost, and they've lost 2 games in a row. Oh, Giannis has been out for 4 games, and that eliminates him from the MVP. But they don't talk about nobody else. But, I don't know what I'm talking about, though.